So we have two note pages that we're going to glue in. We can title this bar graph. So let's look at this page first. We should be really good at bar graphs. This should be very familiar. This is just going to be a really quick review. A bar graph is just a graph that compares information. Why would we use it? Well, it's just easy to see the comparisons. Another note to make is the bars can be horizontal or vertical. Most of the time, the bars are going to be going up and down vertical. Again, the reason why we use bar graphs and they're very popular is because your eyes can quickly see, oh, well, this bar is way taller, so that has the most. Down here, graph versus a table. Your graph is a visual of your data. A table, that's just helping you organize your data. So tables are very nice and good and helpful, and they're nice and neat, and they help you organize things. But when you do presentations or when you're trying to show people, bar graphs are really pleasing to the eye. They're easy to read, and they catch people's attention more. This one, you can really tell fast. Yellow had the most number of students. Red had the least. I knew that quick. Again, this table shows the exact same thing, except the bar graph just makes it easier to see. So let's look at the other note page. And this was a double bar graph. If you can read a regular bar graph, double bar graph, it's the same thing, except they're showing you two things at one time. So for this specific one, they have a title. All graphs should have a title so you know what it's about. It looks like they asked people what their favorite board game was. All of their axes, the X and the Y axis, are labeled. So it looks like on the bottom, this was the board games. And on the side, this is how many students voted for that. So they broke it up. They wanted you to see the boys versus the girl votes. So let's just look at Monopoly. We're going to say that the boys are the first line and the girls are the second column. I know it's kind of hard to see the way it copied. The boys are the first column, girls are the second column. So if I said, okay, Monopoly, did more boys like it or did more girls vote for it? Well, obviously, we said girls is the second bar. The girls like Monopoly better. Let's look at Battleship. Was it more popular with boys or more popular with girls? Well, we said boys is the first line or the first bar, so a lot more boys preferred it than girls. But if I asked you how many students liked Battleship, then you would have to put the girl column and the boy column together, add them up, and find the total amount of students. So make sure you're careful when they're asking you how many students, or they might ask just for the boys or just for the girls. So a bar graph is just a way to be more specific with your data. Instead of just saying 12 people like Monopoly, they split it up and say, okay, well, there were 12 people that like Monopoly, but 4 of them were boys and 8 of them were girls. And down here we have line graphs. We're not going to spend too much time on line graphs, but we are going to talk about it just for a little bit. The main thing about a line graph is it shows how data has changed over time. And it helps you see how a pattern has increased or decreased over time. And just like you can have a double bar graph, you can have a double line graph. Again, they're easy to read just like bar graphs. I know it's really hard to see here, but this little dot went up to the 20 on Monday. It looks like we're talking about magazine sales. Remember, every graph should have a title so you know what they're wanting you to look at. We're talking about magazine sales, and these are days of the week. This is over a time period, but this is just over a week's time. So looking at our days, Monday through Friday, when do people normally buy the most magazines? Well, looking at this graph, it looks like Thursday's dot is up higher. So a lot of people obviously buy magazines on Thursdays for some reason. And then the lowest, I would say Friday. because that dot's lowest. So you can see the trend on what happens over time. It kind of looks like you start low at the beginning of the week, and then more people buy, more people buy, more people buy, and then it kind of drops at the end of the week. So when you're talking about time or over the years or over the days of the week, that's when line graphs are normally more popular to use. And again, just like you had a frequency table with bar graphs, you could have a frequency table with line graphs. So once you make your data organized in a table, you can choose. Do you want to take this table, make it into a bar graph? Do you want to make it into a line graph or a line plot? Anything like that. So it's always good to start off with a table first, and then you can choose and represent that in a nice way.